So we're looking at sampling now, and sampling is used when you want to find the opinion perhaps of a group of people and you don't necessarily want to have to ask every single one of them. Now this scenario that we've come up with here is a company called Supercorp. They've got a big flash high-rise building, and on each of its 10 floors they've got 200 people. So in total they've got 2,000 employees. Now those 2,000 employees have been grumbling a little bit about the quality of the food that's being served in the canteen. And in the canteen they need to understand what people's views are, and they need to take an opinion of the people that use that canteen. Now, as I said, what they could do, the canteen manager could go and ask each one of these people. By the time he'd got through asking all 2,000, things may have changed. What he wants is a snapshot right now of what the opinion is. Now, there's various different ways that he can select his sample that he's going to talk to, because he's going to be doing some sampling. The first one we're going to talk about is stratified sampling. Now, in stratified sampling, we actually look at the population, in this case the tower block, with all the staff and employees in it. And we try to mirror, on a tiny scale, one of the elements, or more of the elements, of the division of types of people within that population. I'm going to do my one now by gender. So I happen to know that we have this many men, 1,200, and this many women, 800. Currently working and using the canteen services of Supercorp. Okay, so the sample that we're going to take in our stratified sample may be that we say, okay, we want to make sure that our sample reflects what's happening, exactly reflects what's happening in terms of the amount of men and women within the population, within the whole tower block. So I might say I want a respondent group of 200. And to ensure that I come up with a stratified sample, I would make sure that I chose exactly 120 men and 80 women. Now that would be a stratified sample. I want to move on now to look at a cluster sample. Now we said that in a cluster sample, here, it's going to be different from a stratified sample. And in a cluster sample, it's like a random sample, but rather than just randomly run all over the building, giving out questionnaires, trying to be as random as we can, we're going to say, actually, what we're going to do is assume that, I don't know, let's have a look. The first, second, third, fourth, fifth floor is going to be our sample. And that is a cluster sample. So our respondent group of 200, we're going to take from the fifth floor. Now, it is kind of a random sample. We can't guarantee we're going to have the same split of men and women as we have across the whole of the staff and the organisation. But it does mean it's quite effective in that we can just take the lift up to the fifth floor, poll the fifth floor, use them as the respondent group. That would be our cluster. The last one I want to talk about right now is our quota sample selection. And in a quota sample selection, I may choose to say, right, I want a random selection, a genuinely random selection. However, I want to include a certain section or a certain group within that organisation, within the respondent group. So maybe a nice way to do that would be to wait outside the exit as everyone's going home and hand out some questionnaires. I could do that, and it would be relatively random. There's no reason to suggest people that like a certain sort of food leave earlier. So that random selection is fine, but maybe I want to ensure that I include 5% vegetarians within there. So I may find out before I do that random sample and before I take that random sample where those vegetarians are in the building. I would find 5% of those. So I would find 10 vegetarians. I would give those the questionnaire, safe in the knowledge that I had got a percentage that I'd picked, a quota that I'd picked, that would be represented within my sample. So here I could say I had a percentage that I had set as a quota. So for my random sample, I have ensured that that group were represented within it.